Hey everybody, happy Thirsty Thursday. Cheers. Oh, I hope your Thursday is thirsty like mine is. Drinking my session IPA today. I called it my abortion IPA because if you remember right, I brewed this on my birthday. And I had a hell of a time that night. I had a hell of a brew night. It just, everything went wrong. I told you guys all about it last video. It turned out pretty good. It's a little on the hoppy side. I had a hard time balancing the hops and the malts. And it's just a little overpowering on the hops a little bit. But it's not too bad. It's a nice beer. And the hops probably will fall out a little bit. Calced out at 3.9% ABV. So it's a nice beer to, kick back and relax with. And you can have a few of these and not get too messed up. Yeah, so I kegged that. And then you remember the habanero beer. I did that, and I bottled the entire batch of that. I don't know why I decided to bottle it. I wanted to share it with quite a few people, I guess, so I decided to bottle it. And in secondary, I added 3 chipotle peppers to it for 7 days. And I pulled a sample of it after 7 days, and it just wasn't quite where I wanted it to be. It was like borderline. It was really close to borderline, and I thought about bottling it, and I thought about, maybe I should add one more. And finally I decided, okay, I'm just going to add one more. So I added one more chipotle pepper to it. It sat another 4 days, so I had another 4 days with 4 peppers in there. Pulled a sample, and I think I got it a little too hot. I don't know. We're going to find out, I guess. I bottled it, and we'll see what happens. I hope it's not too hot, because like I said, that is not what I wanted at all. So I hope it turns out okay. What else did I do? Oh, a couple weeks ago, I did a double brew day. First time I have ever done a double brew day, all grain anyway, for all grain brewing. First double brew day ever. Started about 8 o'clock on Sunday morning. And I brewed a Leinenkugel Summer Shandy clone. And yeah, why would you brew something like that? Well, it's not for me. It's for a friend of mine. And I just wanted to kind of do a test batch of it before I actually give it to him. So I'm going to do a test batch, see how it turns out, maybe tweak a few things, for him. The next, I'll brew when I do brew it for him, I'll tweak a few things and hopefully perfect it. So it's not actually for me, even though I am going to drink this 5 gallons of it. So I brewed that Sunday morning. Everything went really good. And then Sunday afternoon, I brewed a pale ale. And I brewed a pretty big pale ale. It's got a lot of big hops in it, Simcoe, and what else I use? Horizon. Put some Cascade in there. It's got 4 different hops in it. It's pretty good. I think that's going to be a pretty good beer. So yeah, both those are still in primary. I'm going to transfer them this weekend. Looking forward to both of those beers. And then this last Sunday, I brewed a strong Scotch ale. And it's going to be a big beer. It's going to be around 9% ABV. I used Maris Otter in it. I used roasted barley, I used smoked peat, and I used East Kent Golding hops. And then I pitched 2 Scottish Ale YE smack packs. So that is going to be a good beer, I think. I can't wait till that's done. That's still bubbling away as we speak, so I'll let that sit another week in primary. Let's see. I think that's about it as far as brewing. I did this a few weeks ago with another friend of mine, and I wanted to do another video with one-on-one with my good buddy Corey. You might know him as the Iowa Carver, or now I guess he's called the Mini Brewer. So let's go to that. Cheers. Okay, I got my good friend here, Corey. Some people you might know him as Iowa Carver or the Mini Brewer. Cheers, Corey.
Cheers.
Happy Thirsty Thursday.
Absolutely. Happy Thursday. Glad to be here.
Good. So, a few people probably want to know what actually got you into home brewing. How did you get started?
Well, it was probably a couple things. Been into craft beer, for like 5 or 6 years, and was into sampling a lot of different beer, and had started cellaring some beer and all that. And my neighbor was also neighbor and friend was also into it, and we were fishing partners and all that stuff. And he started home brewing.
Oh yeah.
And then he moved away. He moved on the other side of town, and I didn't see him very much. And then one day, he said, let's hook up out at the lake and do some fishing. So I went out there, and we were done fishing, and he pulled out his coolers, and he had a bunch of homebrew that he had done.
Yeah.
And so we pretty much sat by the fire and got snockered on homebrew. And I was pretty impressed with what he had made, because most of it I wouldn't have been able to. And he had a whole range of stuff. He started
So
out
how long
low.
was he pretty experienced at that point when you tried it?
He'd been doing it for a couple years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
just a couple years.
Yeah. So then you tried it and you thought, I can do that.
I thought, I dabbled with it like maybe 15 years ago when I had gotten a Mr. Beer kit for Christmas one year and made the mix that came with it, and it was the most awful shit you'd ever tasted. and now I think back, what I did and everything, and no doubt I did everything wrong.
Yeah.
Because they don't tell you how to do it right. But yeah, so then Christmas was coming that year, and my son had and his family had bought me a big Northern Brewer starter set. So
oh, nice.
That was back in was it December of 2013, I think. So I've been going on 3 years.
Nice. So, and of course, when you get into home brewing, you want to find out all the information that you can. And a good source of information is the internet. So you probably got on the internet and learned quite a bit of stuff from there, correct?
I did. I was looking at YouTube. I think I watched every video that Northern Brewer had on their website. I'm kind of that kind of person anyway. I'll look for everything I can find and start ordering books. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I jumped into it pretty good.
Yeah. See, what when I got in homebrewing, people can't usually tell me on how to do something. It's like fixing a car. You know, when I was younger, I was fortunate enough that my dad was a mechanic. And rather than someone tell me how to do something, he showed me. And that was the best thing I had. You know, I've been wrenching a long time. When I got into homebrewing, it was the same thing. No one could tell me how to do something. So YouTube was a very useful tool for me because I like watching the videos and seeing how people do it rather than reading about it.
Yep, and it's like they always have said, you know, a picture's worth 1,000 words. Well, if a picture's worth 1,000 words, then a video's worth 10,000 because you know you don't lose anything in the translation, and I think it did a lot for the hobby itself. You know, the internet and the videos and
And another thing is you saw this guy on YouTube called CraigTube.
I did.
He had some pretty good videos out.
I did, and that's funny because that's how I got into, our group all knows each other from the internet and from the casts and everything, and that was my first cast I ever went to because I kept seeing him talk about his Friday night cast. I'm like, what the hell is he talking about this cast? So I get the searching through the links and I find this and and I'm like,
That's how I did it too. He mentioned it quite a few times in his videos about at that time it was Justin TV. And I thought, what the heck, and I put it off and put it off and put it off, and finally I got on there one night just for shits and giggles, and I was like, wow, I've been missing out on this. This is a good time.
Yeah.
And then I saw this guy in here called the Iowa Carver, and I thought, that's kind of cool. I'm from Iowa, so I don't know how exactly it happened. Of course, we were both drunk, I'm sure, at the time, but
it had a big part.
But we got to talking, and we've become good friends since then.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. So, and along those same lines, we'll just continue on with this part of the conversation. The Iowa Carver. I want you to kind of explain to everybody. I know what it is, but how did you come up with that name?
Well, the Iowa Carver was a username that I had on YouTube and on forums and everything else because I am a caricature wood carver. Yeah. And that's where the whole name comes from. And that was my email address. That was, pretty much everything I had.
Yeah.
Was built around Iowa Carver. So, here I am, a home brewer and everything, and and people are like, Iowa Carver, and most people didn't really get it. What's that got to do? So, that's one of the reasons why
you're the Mini Brewer now.
That's the Mini Brewer now, because I don't, due to some injuries and what have you, I'm not able to carve anymore, or very little.
Yeah.
So,
but back when you did, you were very talented at what you did.
Well, I enjoyed doing it. I do miss it. I entered a lot of contests and competed in national contests and stuff, and won a few ribbons, and I enjoyed it.
So let's take a step back in time a minute. When did you first discover, or when did you first get interested in wood carving?
It's not all that long ago, really. I've always been a woodworker.
Yeah.
I have a full wood shop. And, I was making, small furniture and, made a lot of jewelry boxes and stuff like that and pen boxes. And I'm also a wood turner. I turn wood and make it. Right. Well, and it's it's stenosis that I had in my back and my spine and stuff. I had spinal stenosis, and it just got to be where I couldn't stand in the shop anymore and do that stuff. So that's when I started looking for another outlet, and I kind of fell into the carving thing, and I loved it right away.
Yeah.
And I did it a lot, and I got progressively better and better fairly quick at it. But I've been an artistic person forever. You know, I've
Oh, that's cool.
been oil painter, you know, and I used to do a ton of that stuff. So I've always been an artistic person, and that kind of just lended itself to that. It's just taking, you know, and putting it, making your hands do it, and
Right. Oh, that's really cool.
so that's really how I ended up there. And it wasn't all that long ago. It was about 2008 when I started wood carving,
Really?
and yeah,
See, I
yeah,
didn't know that. I
yeah.
thought you'd done it a long time.
No, I've been a woodworker for a long time, and I had all the equipment, but I hadn't been wood carving all that long. Um, and then I joined a local club and started doing their shows, and yeah, I mean it. And I have some good friends that are a lot of friends that are wood carvers. You know, they're locally and nationally and stuff, and it's a big community too. But
Oh, yeah.
I just don't get to participate in it like I used to. So
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's cool that you were able to do that, and you got some pretty cool stuff to show for it. So,
thanks.
yeah. And now you are the mini brewer. So, can you kind of elaborate on what that means?
Well, as you eloquently pointed out one time, it's not because I'm a little guy.
Did I say that?
Yeah,
I don't think
yeah.
I said that.
Well, we were all had a few. We were we were all joking anyway. So there was no your words were you're not exactly a mini guy, and that's that's right. So, but when you first get into home brewing, all the equipment I had was 5 gallon equipment, and all that stuff. I've never been the kind of person that uh, I just never liked to drink that much of any one thing, even if it was the best stuff that anybody's ever brewed. I wouldn't want to drink 5 gallons of it, and I had trouble with that, and so I immediately started really right away. I started downsizing to small batches. I went to like the three almost immediately. I went to brew in a bag, doing 3 gallon kits in the brew in a bag system,
Yeah.
and doing the all grain that way. And I really enjoyed that. But I kept going with it until I squashed it down to the gallon level. And there's a couple reasons for that. I always said, I don't like drinking that much of anything, and I don't when I'm always buying new beers, trying new beers, and I'm always, I just don't like to do that. And
Right.
so it kind of lended itself to me on my home brewing as well. And, I get to I brew about every other to every 3 weekends. And that way, I get to brew a lot of different stuff. And I
Right.
probably brewed since the first of the year. I've done 8 or 9 batches already, maybe more. Um, yeah, and I'm kind of on a kick right now uh, to really better myself and really get my brewing stuff straightened out and
Right.
really focused on making good beer and not just brewing, but
Yeah.
I want to make good beer, you
Yeah.
know.
Exactly. That's where am looking to be too. There. That's where I'm trying
Yeah,
to be.
yeah.
is to get better at that. Yeah. So you do primarily you do extracts. You'll do a 1 gallon batch, and then all grain you'll do a 2 gallon batch.
Yeah, yeah. I've had a couple different kits laying around that I'm finishing up with, but for the most part, I will be brewing 2 gallon all grain batches for the most part going forward. Got a couple different size mash tuns that allow me to do, like a 1 gallon version or a bigger beer in the one. So, and I've got a bunch of demijohns, the gallon jugs and other different size fermenters that I can do 2 gallons and split them off into a couple things, and I like doing that, playing with stuff like that. And uh, I'm going to be doing more of those kind of things with different yeasts, trying this yeast because that's to me how you get better. You got to figure out what shit does to it.
Right. Yeah.
And so what not to do, and it just
I've been doing a lot of that lately. Not
Yeah,
what
I mean,
not to do.
well, I think that's important. When you're, how do you know what hops, for one, that you like,
Uh-huh.
and how do you know how they react if you don't ever use them? So,
Yeah. And
I
then,
mean, that's,
you got several different types of hops too that you want to. Are they all going to blend together and taste good? You don't know unless you try.
yeah, absolutely. And I know you've been a lot the same way, except you do it.
Yeah, I've been
You
throwing a
brew,
lot of stuff together to where.
yeah, and
Just,
you brew just as much as I do. Only you do the full batches and stuff. But
yeah, because I like to drink.
well, yeah, so do I. But
I'm just saying, it's Thirsty Thursday, so.
yeah, I know. Well, you probably wouldn't have to brew half as much as you do if you didn't have that mug, because
Yeah.
you do a video on Thursday. Well, that takes half your keg. So
I know it. Oh, yeah. Okay, one more thing. Talk about your YouTube channel. Your own.
okay, um, it. Let me look real quick. I forget how it's labeled. Well, I'm sure you can put a link
Yeah,
to
I'll
it,
put a
but
link down below.
but I
Just talk about it a little bit.
I just, at the first of the year, I decided, to go with the new name and really concentrate on my mini brewing. And I'll give you the link for the blog and everything. I got a blog that I keep, and I do homebrew Wednesdays. I don't do one every week. I
Yeah.
basically do them now just to do updates on what I'm doing, and I'll probably have one next week. And then also I do beer reviews.
Yep.
So all my beer reviews are on the channel. Um, and the whole thing with the beer reviews really started because of homebrewing, because um, I wanted to learn more about what I was tasting and how I can taste different things in the beer, and I thought it would help me with my own home brew and picking the good stuff out. And I always know when it's a good beer.
Uh-huh.
I always know when it's a bad beer, but I don't always know why it's bad and why it's tasting the way it is. And that's something I want to learn more of, and I wouldn't mind taking a class on, picking out those off flavors and stuff.
Yeah, that would be kind of cool. Yeah, I'll put a link down below, and then a link to your blog too. So
Cool.
I think that's about it, buddy. Cheers.
Yeah. All right. Cheers. Well, thanks for having me on.
You betcha. Happy Thirsty Thursday.
Happy Thursday.
Hope you guys enjoyed that. Thanks, Corey, for doing that. That's a really good time. I enjoy doing those interviews. That's kind of fun to do. You might see more of those from me, so look forward to that. Make sure you guys join me tonight on iVlog TV, 8 o'clock Central, every Thursday night. Good times, good tunes, and, of course, good beer, right? That's about all I got this week, guys. Cheers. I'm out. Oh, yeah.